Welcome to my channel, guys. Since you are here, so it seems like you are more interested towards having a business in America, or you are looking for a different investment visa programs for USA. So for those who are new to my channel, my name is Rahil Sheikh, and I am a business consultant based in Virginia, and we are primarily engaged in assisting and advising clients when they happen to start their new businesses in America, or they want to acquire new businesses in America with or without the purposes of investor visas, primarily E2 visas. So when it comes to the E2 visa, E2 visa is basically for international investors who want to set up their businesses in America, and they want to move to USA along with their families. There is a lot of detailed discussions required. There is a lot of understanding which is required when it comes to the E2 visa. And in order to have a quite detailed briefing, I have invited a very special guest to my channel today. His name is Jacob Sapochnik. He is one of the most reputed immigration attorney on the internet, and he is gonna join my channel. We're gonna have a detailed discussion. We're gonna dissect deeper how does the E2 visa works, who is it for, and what kind of business opportunities will be there for E2 investors. So let's welcome Mr. Jacob. Hello, Jacob. Welcome back to my show again. Thank you
Hello,
for
Raheel.
joining.
Pleasure. It was a pleasure. Pleasure to be here. How are you
Thank you.
today?
Oh, absolutely good, sir. Winter is here, vacation season is coming up, holiday season is coming up, so a bit busy. How's at your end?
Excellent. Very good. Same thing. We are getting ready for a busy beginning of the year, but also, people are worried about the changes that are happening with the new administration. So I
Absolutely.
think, we are all connected in that respect.
Great, great. So, Jacob, I'm just gonna, straight away, respecting your time, dive deeper into the E2 visas. So, before we understand the different aspects or the different opportunities E2 visa brings, if you can just give us a quick overview, what is E2 visa, who is it for, and how can somebody qualify for E2 visa?
So the E2 visa, the easiest way to explain it is it's a non-immigrant investor visa.
Right.
And essentially, the U.S. government for years and years, they have treaties with different countries, and those treaties allow you to do certain things. One of them is visas. So the U.S. has a investor treaty between many countries. Uh, One of them is Pakistan,
Yep.
but also a lot of European countries, Canada and Mexico, one of them, and they allow people from those countries to apply for the E2 visa, invest a sum of money, open a business, a new one, or buy an existing one, and come to the United States with their families. Um, it is indefinite in the sense that you can renew it as long as you operate the business. So it depends on where you're from, but essentially you can renew it indefinitely. So, in a nutshell, it's a non immigrant visa that allows you to open or buy an existing business and allow yourself, by doing that, to move to the United States.
Great. I mean, you start with a quite brief, because it's a non-immigrant visa. So let me ask you the first question with regards to the non-immigrant intentions, because usually, especially my audience, majorly from Pakistan, or Pakistan is based in other countries, Middle East and Canada and UK. So when it comes to a non-immigrant intent, so people normally or traditionally they believe that once they are making a huge investments in the United States, or even for a matter of fact any country, and they are moving with their families, they are bringing their kids, they get scared or skeptical because of their non-immigrant intent. So do you think it's like scary for them to in certain values or in certain aspects, if it is a non-immigrant and it is not directly leading to the green card, or it is normal
Yeah.
procedure? So how do you cover that?
Well, if you look at it this way, the reason why we call this non-immigrant is because the U.S. immigration system is divided into two segments. One is immigrant visas, right, which could be family-based, employment-based, and the second is non-immigrant visas.
Right.
The only main difference is that non-immigrant visas are faster, short duration, and most of them will finally lead you to get a green card, right?
Okay.
So most people will start with a non-immigrant visa first,
Mm-hmm.
and then they will upgrade to the green card because the green cards usually take maybe a few years, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 years,
Right.
depending on where you're from and what is your category. So you shouldn't be worried about that. The E2 is a good entryway to the United States. A lot of our clients are staying on the E2 visa for 5, 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
and during this time, they find a way to get a green card.
Right. So basically, E2, you can say it's like a market entry point or entry ticket.
Right.
And once you are
Mhm.
here, so it doesn't stop you for looking for other
Right.
options, which leads to the green card.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. So now, when it comes to the E2, one of the things which we need to understand is what kind of an investment budget we are talking about. Is it like the same like an EB5 where there is a fixed amount of $1 million or something, or what is the budget we are talking about?
So, when you look at the regulations for the E2 are codified in the Foreign Affairs Manual,
Mm-hmm.
which is essentially the rules of the State Department. The State Department control the E2 visas because most E2 visas are issued at U.S. embassies and consulates worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
So, according to the Foreign Affairs Manual, there is no set amount that is
Mm-hmm.
set.
Mm-hmm.
And I give an example. It really depends on which embassy you go. It depends on the business that you're looking to start
Mm-hmm.
and the location. So let's look at two examples.
Mm-hmm.
One example is an applicant. This is a case that I've done, and again, you have to realize that things have changed in the past 5 years
Mm-hmm.
versus today. The
Right.
example I'm going to give you is an extreme example, but it's important to you to understand just for the sake of the example. So this is a real case from about 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The applicant is from Switzerland, and he started a fishing training company. He's a fisherman from Switzerland, and he built a program to teach people how to fish more efficiently using different equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And also, he had a small line of rods that he would sell. Right.
Okay.
So this guy invested about $25,000. He had a small office, and he opened this company in Minnesota, which
Okay.
is by the lakes over there, right?
Right.
And he got approved with $25,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, compare this. Now, why was he approved? He was approved because he invested the entire $25,000. He also had equipment worth another $20,000
Mm-hmm.
of the rods and all the stuff.
Right.
And he was in Minnesota, which is cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to prove to the business plan that that's enough money for what he was doing in the location it was going to be.
Right.
Compare this to another person. We have an applicant from Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to open a car dealership
Mm-hmm.
in the city of Los Angeles.
Right.
This guy had to invest $350,000.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because he was in Los Angeles,
Right.
because his business is a high risk business. He needs a very expensive insurance.
Right.
He needed also to buy some of the cars to be able to to show. So
Right.
his startup investment was higher for the
Mm-hmm.
nature of his business and the location he chose.
Right.
So for him, $350,000 was sufficient based on the business plan that he did.
Mm-hmm.
So you see the two different extremes.
Right.
One was 350, one was 25,000. We've got a lot of people in between. I tell people, if you are a consulting business,
Mm-hmm.
you do e-commerce, you do real estate management, you do anything to do with services, anywhere from 50 to 100 is reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
If you're coming from Pakistan, prepare to do at least $100,000 because the embassy is very strict
Right.
and they want to make sure you come in there and you have enough money to live. Right? So the bottom line is that we'll decide based on your case, your location, your business idea,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're planning to do. Right?
Got it.
So somebody tells you 100,000, somebody tells you 200,000. Why?
Mm.
What is the business? Let's go with the analysis of 4 factors: location, type of business, what are you going to do, and what's your idea in terms of the business plan, the
Right.
growth.
Right.
That's it.
Got it. Got it. So basically, in a nutshell, there is no fixed amount for
No.
E2 visas, and it all depends what kind of a business somebody is trying to acquire. And
Exactly.
I usually say what kind of skill sets or expertise you bring into the business, because I think that
Right.
can also add value, though not monetary value, but as a goodwill value to the business.
Correct.
Great.
Absolutely.
So now, when because since you mentioned about the the Pakistan consulate, so we have seen the Pakistan consulate is been little tough as compared to, let's say, a Canadian consulate.
Absolutely.
So do you think $100,000 investment is a reasonable one when it comes to person sitting in Pakistan?
I think so. Like I said,
Is
especially if you have a business
mm-hmm,
that doesn't require like a low, margins like a restaurant.
mm-hmm,
If it's a restaurant, they're more strict.
mm-hmm,
They'll ask you for a comparative analysis and more
right.
documents.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's anything else like consulting or any other new business, they won't be too strict.
Okay, got it. So, okay, now the next thing is talking about the businesses. So, because sometimes what happens is, I don't know about you, but usually with me, this is very common. People come to me and they wanted to ask or find the businesses in the market, and they are
Okay.
confused. What kind of business is good for E2 visa, and which state to live in, and should they buy a new business or a start. So we will break it into the three questions. So first one is, what kind of business do you think or have you seen in your practice is more suitable for a newcomer or for E2 investors from Pakistan?
So I think what we see right now is a lot of things in the service industry,
Mm-hmm.
right? Something that is provide service, like dog walking businesses, laundry mods,
Right.
dry cleaners,
Mm-hmm.
anything that window washing is a big one right now.
Right.
So anything like that of service, because there's a demand for it, is
Right.
good,
And it's
right?
low capital intensive.
The next we have is all the online like e-commerce stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's popular right now,
Mm-hmm.
and the embassy they know that those businesses work, but they require more evidence and scrutiny,
Right.
right? And then we have the third one, which is the traditional one: gas stations, restaurants, all these, margin business that require more people to work for you, but
Mm-hmm.
also require more investment,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's kind of what I see right now, the gamut.
Okay, got it. So, in terms of the states, do you recommend or suggest any particular state over another one? For a newcomer, or how do you see that challenge?
What I've seen, a lot of, for example, Pakistani clients that come in, they usually know somebody there, right? So, for
Right,
example, a recent client that we did for Pakistan, they have a cousin in Texas, right?
right.
The cousin can help them with
Setting
housing
up
and
the
all that. So
things,
they'll
yeah.
go where they know somebody. So the most common states we've seen are Texas, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a lot of people going to Indiana recently
Right.
because of the low taxes there.
Mm-hmm.
Utah has been a popular state. While less Pakistani going there, but they're starting to know that. But I would say by far Texas is the big one.
Right. Texas is most
A
Pakistani
lot of, yeah,
populated.
because they
Yeah.
know people there.
Right.
They already have family members, friends. Houston is big one.
Right.
Houston number one. Then we
Mm.
have Dallas.
Right.
Then we have San Antonio. We have a lot of people go to San Antonio as well.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, people go to Austin as well. But Houston by far is the big one
By
that
far
I've
is
seen.
got it, got it. Okay, so now the next one of the confusion would be, do you think starting a business brand new from the scratch is a better way or a better choice as compared to buying an existing business? So which one do you think is more appropriate for a newcomer?
Okay. Well, that's a great question. I'll
Mm-hmm.
tell you why it's important to analyze it.
Yeah.
So let's say we're buying a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at a recent real example.
Mm-hmm.
A client who is half Pakistani and he's half Canadian actually,
Okay.
and he bought a business, and the business is in the dry cleaning business, right? So
Okay.
it's a very very simple. You have a
Mm-hmm.
location,
Right.
but here's the thing: when you buy an existing business, you're bound to the value. What do
Right.
I mean by that? In this case, there's a CPA that makes an assessment, say, okay, these guys are making X amount of money. It's worth $350,000, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then he won't be able to invest 100,000.
Right.
If the business is worth 350, how is he going to invest 100,000? So he's bound by the value of the business. That's the only issue
Oh.
with if you buy a business. If you
Okay.
have the money and you want to buy an existing business and you want to, get in, jump in
Right.
right there so it works already, by all means.
Right.
But if you don't have enough money, let's say you only have 100,000,
Mm-hmm.
then either you find a business that is worth that much,
Mm-hmm.
or you start a new one, and then you're not limited with the amount.
Okay.
That makes sense. But
Got
if you're
you.
gonna buy a new
True.
business, you better able to afford it. It's
Right.
simple. It's like buying anything. If you want to buy a new car, you better be able to afford the car. You're not gonna buy a Mercedes
Right.
If you can't afford a Mercedes, you're going to buy a Hyundai.
Right.
Right? I mean,
Right.
it's the same thing. If you can afford to buy the business, by all means.
Okay. So in terms of the visa procedures, it doesn't impact the decision that whether you are starting a new one or whether you are buying an existing one. It doesn't make a big difference.
Well, it makes a difference in this way.
Okay.
Let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
A person buys a business,
Okay.
right? The business has been around for 10 years. They go to the interview, and the consular officer is looking to see past tax returns. It's a real
Right.
thing that happened. He
Right.
goes through the tax returns, and he realizes that in 3 years ago, what happened is that the company essentially liquidated in a way. They took money from the company and they kind of restructured it.
Right.
And so he was focused on that.
Mm-hmm.
And he made a big deal about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, how come they took the money from there? It looks like there was some kind of a shady thing going on. It
Right.
wasn't. It was basically they changed the holding company's
Right.
issue.
Mm-hmm.
As a result of this confusion, the case went into admin processing for 7 months.
Wow.
Right? Then they send all the requests, send us the tax return, an auditor's report. So what I'm saying is that if you're buying a business, you're taking a risk of them digging into the history of the company.
Right.
And that can cause delays. So unless you're buying a franchise, which is a big company, and you know you go in there, it's going to continue to make money. You have all the records from the franchise. I would be very cautious to buy a business because the embassy will scrutinize their their acquisition.
Right. Okay. So that way, I mean, as long as you have a clean records in terms of the books and tax and all,
That is no
then
issue.
yeah, then there should not be an issue. But if you happen to find, which more likely, because if a Pakistani client comes and buy a business, he may have some existing business already available through his references. So you need to make sure that the books are clean, and then you should consider buying. Otherwise, it's preferred to start new. Okay. So in terms of the visa process, years. Let's say, I mean, if there are two processes. One is like if somebody is applying at the consular processing in Pakistan, or somebody is coming here on a visitor visa and change of status. Which one is more convenient or more faster route, I would say, or more, let's say, advised route between the two from your perspective?
Well, the thing is this. Um, when you deal with change of status, it's you're able to get it. Maybe it's a little bit easier, but then you're kind of stuck in the country, right?
Right.
You're able to live here and do it for 2 years, and the moment you want to go back to your country, you're gonna have to go through the embassy at some point.
Right.
And so the longer you stay here, the harder it is to do it. So I would only do it for people that are sure that they're going to stay in the U.S. for a while and maybe find a way to convert their status to a green card from the U.S. Because
Okay.
the embassies, they don't like the change of status.
Okay. So embassies do not prefer, like if you in your history you went and you change of status, so the chances would be a little thinner as compared to staying here and doing the next change of status or renewal.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. So like I said, I would evaluate it case by case before you make that decision.
Got it. Got it. Makes sense. Okay. So, because nowadays, like I have actually seen there is a lot of Pakistanis coming up, and they believe somehow they get a B1, B2, so they enter to the country and they believe they just come here, they change the status, and they go back. Without, of course, it's a lack of information and knowledge, but this is what their mindsets are. But if there is a genuine guy who wants to come here and do the change of status, what kind of timeline we are talking about? How long does it take to process the whole things? And what kind of things like do's and don'ts of during the change of status procedures?
So normally we don't recommend for people to do it within the first 3 months of their arrival. Ideally, after 3 months they're here, they can file for change of status. Right now, it's taking anywhere from 2 months, sometimes a year. It depends on where you file it. And the most important thing is to prove the real intent of the change of status. Like, yeah, we found this business where we're here, or
Right.
we didn't plan to do this. We just found this business. So it's important to show that you don't do it the first 3 months when you arrive.
Okay.
and then prove to the government, well, what is your actual intention to do this?
Right.
You know what I
And
mean?
any particular things or suggestions which you would like to give when somebody is coming here and staying here for 3 months or 6 months and processing of change of status. So what are the actions which he should do or he should avoid?
Um, well, I would avoid signing any lease, any contract, any open LLC the first 3 months,
Okay.
because you're supposed to be a visitor, right? So
Right.
that's I would keep that
As a
situation.
visitor.
Once
Okay.
those 3 months pass, then if you want to change your status, you can do all the stuff, all the work, and all the documents you need to change your status.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. So now coming to the next one. So change of status is done. The business we have
Yeah.
seen the investment amounts we have decided. So when it comes to let's say if somebody is deciding whether it's to start a new business or to buy an existing business, but he has never been to the country, he is still sitting in Pakistan or any other part of the world.
Yeah.
What should be his steps or actions which he should take in order to find and buy the business of whatever the choice he wants to have it?
If you haven't been to the US, I
Mm-hmm.
would work maybe with somebody that can help, like a consultant, or
Mm-hmm.
somebody can help you find the business. Go there, check it out remotely. Make sure you do the due diligence, check the leases, check everything. These days you can do everything remotely online.
Right.
You don't
Right.
have to physically be here,
Mm-hmm.
and even bank accounts you can open remotely.
Right.
So I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay.
But that's the only way you can do it. If you're not able to come to the US, you're gonna have to have somebody who's gonna help you do that remotely.
Okay. So if it is remote or if you are not here, then you need somebody, either your known person or some professional companies who can do the business for you. Okay.
Correct.
So in terms of the families of the E2 or the dependents and the spouse and the kids, who are all can be inclusive in the project or in this visa program, and should they travel all together or should they travel one by one? How about that, if you can tell us?
Um, so basically, the family members, they can come with them at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
or they can come after the principal person got the visa approved.
Okay. So it can, so family not necessarily needs to be at the same time. They can travel separately.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, got it.
The main person can get it, and then the family can get it afterwards.
Perfect. Now, with regards to the current, the political situation here and the current elections and the new administrations coming up, the very sensitive point, everybody, most of the investors are concerned. What do you see, or what is your feedback about the Trump's, the administration and their policies or their potential hit on the E2 visas? Do you think it will impact on it or it will stay same?
I think from everything I hear, um, I don't think he's going to impact the e-visa directly
Mm-hmm.
as an e-visa, but what's going to change is the processing times. You're going to see more embassies strict with their applicants, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to get more difficult to get it.
Okay.
That's what I see. But it's not going to change the procedure of the e-visa. It's just going to make it longer. The interviews may be more difficult and things like that.
The procedures will become more stringent and more
Correct.
tougher. So, how would you like to advise to somebody who is in the process or planning to start the process now? How what kind of things he should do just to make sure that these strictness does not impact him?
What I would suggest is prepare everything early,
Mm-hmm.
have very strong business plans, and make sure that you don't do anything in violation of status if you come to America or overseas. Also, document the source of your money.
Okay.
Very important before you come. That's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest reason why people get stuck
Right.
at the embassy.
Okay. So as long as you have the documented source of funds, flow of money, and you make a legitimate business, you should be good.
You should be there very good.
Perfectly good. Perfectly good. Okay. So I think we have covered almost all the major aspects of the E2. So let's say lastly, if somebody wants to move towards a permanent residence from E2, what kind of options do you think are available and can be feasible to anybody?
Well, I think for the most common way to move from the E2 to the green card is by self-petition EB2 national interest waiver. If you're an entrepreneur, obviously because you build a business, if you have a degree from your home country, let's say Pakistan, and you did something in your career, most people can try to qualify for national interest waiver. And I think those people should be evaluated and see if they qualify. That's the most common way how I move people from E2 to the green card.
Okay, so NAW is the most recommended one or the
Absolutely.
common one.
That's what I do mostly.
Got it, got it. So at the end, Jacob, if somebody, after watching this information and this video, somebody wants to get in touch with you, somebody wants to have more information about your company. So just two things I want to know. One, what all are the areas your company, your firm can assist in, and if somebody wants to reach to you, how can he do that?
So, we help in all aspects of business immigration. We can do business plan, E2, green card, everything. The best way to reach us, and you can post the link afterwards, it's www.immigrationasap.com.
Right.
Put their information there. The best way is simple. Immigrationasap.com. We are there. Mention the Rahil Show,
Right.
Startup Business Bureau, and we will give you a priority.
Perfect. Thank you. That will be a good piece of information and a great help from your side, so that because if somebody wants to contact you directly, they can. I'll put the link in the description. They can reach you. They can book a consultation. They can have a further chat, whether it's only for the E2 or even for all the other immigration related procedures. Perfectly good, and thank you so much for your valuable time, Jacob. Just before we go or log off, any particular advice for the whole procedures if you would like to give to my audience?
I mean, like I said, the most important thing you need to do is decide on what is your idea. Do you want to come as a business owner? Do you want to come as a self-petition because you want to do NIW, or if you have a job offer? What I'm saying, whatever the option is, make the plan early and follow the same plan you planned. You started. That's the most important thing.
Perfect. I think that makes perfect sense. And with that all, thank you so much, Jacob, for coming and joining the show. And looking forward to talk to you again.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Raheel.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
Sure.